is Monday, January 26th, 2026. I'm going to say 2025. I miss 2025, sort of. But welcome to a new week. Hope this week is wonderful for you as we wrap up the month of January. And I'm back with our finale for this series that I called Mind Renewal. And we started this, we did start this at the start of January. So, Mind Renewal States and Stages. Last week we talked about recovery and recalibration, and the week before that we talked about thoughts. So here we are in the final stage, in the final video for this series, and I have titled this Renew and Restore. So renewal and restoration is what we're going to get into tonight. I'll give everybody a chance to log on, say hello in the chat if you're here, if you'd like. And if you're watching in the replay, don't hesitate to say hi in the comments. Share anything that you'd like about the series, anything that's impacted you, or anything you'd like to share on your own inner journey. I would love to hear feedback and see how you guys are doing. Yeah, so here we are at the last week of January, and I am ready to wrap up this month. I had some time, I think I shared this, yeah, I came on last night. I forgot I came on last night. But I had some time this weekend, kind of an expected time, or at least I had time that was quiet. It was unexpected. I did plan to have this weekend off for my son's birthday, but so I did have some time to reflect and kind of gather myself a little bit. So I'm excited to wrap up January and head into February. By the way, as we are wrapping up January, just as I shared throughout this month, my discounted rate for this year is $57 per session, and my sessions are an hour long, and this is my discounted rate this year. I know last year I was all about $20, $25, and $25, but I brought them back up to the normal kind of range that I charge for my sessions, and I'm keeping that rate through the end of January. So if you're interested in doing one-to-one sessions and you want to get that discounted rate, please reach out to me, shesrestored@gmail.com, or leave your email here on this video, and I'll reach out to you and see when we can set something up. But I already had it in my spirit, even before I started this year, that I'm going to be charging actually a little more for my sessions. Which again, I'm going to echo because, hi, how's it going? Welcome, Sonic. And everybody coming in the chat, welcome everyone. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're watching. But yeah, so this is kind of new territory for me because I do want my services to be affordable for you, of course, and I'll still work with your budget. But the Lord is saying we're going higher. We're going higher this year. So my services are going to be a little bit more expensive this year, starting February. So yeah, if you're interested to get the discounted rate, which is the normal rate really, then reach out to me before the end of January and we can set something up. Hi everybody coming in the chat, say hello, good to see you. If I can say one word in Portuguese, you'll give me $1,000. Well, that's pretty brave. I'm trying to think if I know a word in Portuguese. I'm gonna have to think about that one, actually. I don't know Portuguese very well. I know Spanish very well. I know some Italian. but Portuguese might be a little stretch for me. But I could definitely use that $1,000, so. So how's everyone doing? Welcome to Mind Heart Mondays. I'm glad you guys are here. My name is Ruby. I'm a certified therapeutic art life coach, and I am the founder of She's Restored. I welcome you to this channel if you're interested in the inner healing journey, art, music, therapy, and spiritual mentoring. These are all my realms and wheelhouses that I flow from. But let's get into this. This is our last series of the series. And we're going to be talking about renewal and restoration, which is kind of my forte. But this specific instance, we are speaking about the renewal of the mind, which is so vital, y'all, so vital. And if you're new and you missed the first 2 videos of this series, I welcome you to scroll through my channel and watch them, because there are definitely little nuggets of wisdom in there for you to receive. And if you're here tonight live or you're watching on the replay, I welcome you to share anything that's on your mind or heart with me. I'd be happy to listen and answer anything you guys want to share. So let's get into this. So, just to overview, I actually like to overview before we wrap up, just to remind us. I talked about 3 stages in this series. So the detox stage of the mind, which is basically all the mental rot, this is what I called it. All of the faulty thinking, the toxic thinking, the inherited strongholds. This is our stage 1, is the detox. And the detox is basically removing and cleansing all that is poison in your mind. The second stage, which was last week, is the recovery and recalibration stage. And this is the major stage of transition, where you're kind of sort of in between your old way of thinking and trying to get closer to the new way of thinking. Okay, so this is sort of a tug of war, really, with your mind. But once you get to the stage that we're going to talk about today, which is the renewal stage, renewal is a continual process of making something new. So when it comes to my mind, when I'm renewing my mind, I'm in a continual state of renewing my mind, the way I think. And restoration is to be brought back to its original state. Okay, believe it or not, God created us, and this is sort of the paradox, I suppose, but God created us with a sound mind. This is why when babies are born, and when you see children in their elements when they're little, it's because they have not been tainted and poisoned by the societal norms of thought processes and emotional turmoil and all of the stuff that we are susceptible to as we get older and we are exposed to the world. So in a sense, you're brought back to your original way of thinking. Okay? Keep this in mind, okay? This is very important. But that's what we're getting into today. So, renewal is the space where my new mindset is strong enough to guide me in my thoughts. Okay? So once I get to this stage and this level of my mental health recovery, and it doesn't matter what it is for you, because as I always say, we're all recovering from something. So whatever space that is for you, take a minute to think about this. What am I recovering from mentally? Or what am I in recovery for? Because it all starts with the mind. As you guys know, I teach this all the time. get into this. The renewal process, this is what I call the divine exchange in my inner healing journey sessions. Okay, so I personally have a tailored and specific signature process that I created through, and this, a lot of this was just through my own inner healing journey. And I call it the 3 to 5 steps of processing pain of the soul realm. This would be my step. I believe this is my step for the divine exchange. The divine exchange is essentially, I'm exchanging my toxic, faulty, unhealthy thinking for healed, stable, sane, and sober-minded thinking. Okay? I'm not completely steady in this process yet, but my spiritual health is strengthening, and I will be able to hear divine wisdom pouring into my spirit. Okay, so this is where it starts. If I'm to renew my mind, I must have truth, and I must have and in this truth, I must have knowledge and wisdom that comes from greater than my intellectual realm. This is the secret. This is the key to having a sound mind. Okay? It's not about exchanging one worldly perspective for another. Okay, that's going to lead me into more confusion. I must have higher thinking for me to come out of the low vibration thinking that has caused me to be in spaces that are unhealthy, whether it's mental, emotional, physical. Okay, so this is very important. So this stage of renewal, and this divine wisdom pours into my soul realm. So if you're new, I teach on this all the time. The soul is the mind, the heart, and the will. And this is where I'm doing the exchange. So my old way of thinking is in my soul realm, and my new way of thinking is also connected to my soul realm through my spirit. And in this divine exchange, when I'm receiving this divine wisdom, it's helping me get off the old path that I've been on and the old pathways that I've been functioning and operating from. This is very important. This space is essentially the bridge that is bringing me back past or forward to the future. And this is very important, and I would write this down if you're taking notes. That trajectory depends on my cognizant participation in my recovery process. This is what's very important to remember. When I'm in recovery, and it doesn't matter what it is, there's two important spaces that I must be present in. First, again, when I talk about the inner healing journey, I tell you that there are these sort of stages before I get to being completely ready to yield my will to the Lord so that He can work in me. Okay, and when I'm here though, when I'm here where I finally accept, and this is my step one, when I accept, I have a problem. You know, I'm struggling in this area, I'm struggling with this. That is my participation in my recovery process by saying I am ready to deal with this issue or to deal with these issues. Okay, so that's one space that I must be cognizant and present and ready to participate in. And this is my will. Okay, when I decide something, that's my will. So that's part of my soul realm. So at this point, something has already occurred or changed in my mind, which is my thinking, and my heart, which is my emotional realm, to lead me to choose, I want to get better. I want to get well. Okay, so that's one space. And then the other space, which is equally important and really the foundation to my true recovery, that is that I am spiritually surrendered to God's will, so He can do the work in me that I can't do by myself. Because I'm telling you right now, and I share this all the time. I even shared this today, actually, with a guest that I had earlier. And I won't get into it, of course, because it's private. Her testimony is private. But it was this concept and this truth, really, it's not a concept, it's a truth, that my spirit must be yielded so that my soul can follow suit to God's will and plan and path for me. And I'm telling you, it is better than anything you can conjure up for yourself. Because remember, God created us, so He knows our needs, He knows our desires, He knows what would truly be fulfilling and satisfying for our life in spite of ourselves. And so His path is the best path for us. But again, because we have free will, we can choose to say no, of course, but we'll never get the best of what He has if we choose to reject what He's trying to do in our lives. Okay? The other beautiful part about this is there is some work that needs to be done in me, that no matter how strong-willed you are, no matter how tenacious you are, no matter how disciplined or how structured you are, you can't do it. It has to come from the supernatural realm, and that's God's business. So I must participate both in my spiritual realm and being, and in my soul realm and being, so that I can see it, I can feel it, I can experience it in the natural realm, which is the physical world. Very important, okay? And let's get into this example. I shared this example before, and I just want to kind of keep it congruent just for us, especially those of you that have been following along from the very beginning. But I used a example of someone who received the message very young that they were not good enough. You guys, sorry if this is, if that was loud, but sometimes I get annoyed with this being all twisted, but oh well, it is what it is. But let's say someone received a message that they weren't good enough. Maybe they were told at a young age that, they were worthless. At the very worst, to hear those words, can you imagine at a young age to hear that? Especially from someone that you looked up to, especially from someone who was a guardian. Remember, these messages that we received when we were younger, from those that we esteemed to take care of us. And it really doesn't matter if it was your parents, or those of you that were adopted, your adopted parents, or those that grew up with your grandparents or your aunts or your uncles. These words that were poured into us, they shaped and molded how we see ourselves. So if you received the message very young that you were not worthy of whatever it is. Or let's say you, of course, children are amazing and they can do so much. But let's say as a child you tried to do something and the message you received was, well, that's not good enough. You didn't try hard enough. Let's say, I don't know, let me think of an example. Let's say a young boy in a baseball team and he's struggling to hit the ball or whatever. And instead of having an encouraging guardian that says, you know what, it's okay, let's get it next time, or you got this, or whatever, which is an encouraging message, they heard the opposite. They heard, well, what's wrong with you? Why can't you hit that ball? It's so easy. These kind of messages that we grew up with really shaped and molded the way we see ourselves. So in this instance, I'm not good enough. This is, as I shared, and actually some of my teachings are overlapping here because I am talking tomorrow on maintaining our peace and some of the things that we've inherited. But if I heard this message at a young age, I would consider this inherited thinking because it was passed down from, let's say, my parents. And honestly, if our parents weren't healed, they obviously passed it down to us. Maybe in this instance with the baseball team, maybe the father heard the same thing from his dad. And to him, it's just, well, that's just how you talk to your kids, because that's how I talk to my kids. That's how my dad talked to me. That's just how it is. Well, that might have been how it was, but it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean it has to continue. And this is where we gain that empowerment to break cycles in our family, which, of course, a lot of us understand this, generational curse breakers. I am one of these in my family. And a lot of you are one of those in your family, praise God. But when you understand that just because my family did it that way doesn't mean it was right, it doesn't mean it was healthy. And when I recognize the toxicity of that, and I have the courage to say no, it ends with me, then I break the cycle. And I pass healing down to my children, and the younger generations. Even if you don't have children, people that are impacted by you, you break that mentality and those strongholds to pour healing into the next generations and the younger people in your life. Beautiful, empowering. So the message and the thought that would be toxic here is, I'm not good enough. Right? So what happens is, if I grew up with that message all my life, chances are I might have some insecurities about my performance. Let's say in this instance with the baseball team, and this can get very detailed, you guys, but in this instance, it's a performance, right? He's an athlete, so he might start having self-image issues. He might not feel, as a man, let's say when he gets older, he might not feel completely secure in his masculinity, because as a child he was emasculated. He was kind of robbed of that confidence in his boyhood, So all of this is very important to understand, and for you it's something different. So let's say when he gets older and a coworker comes or maybe a boss comes and criticizes his performance at work, or he says something verbally abusive, he doesn't feel the courage to stand up for himself, or certainly not spiritually to repudiate the spirit of judgment that's coming against him. Okay? This is so important. But let's say he did get to a place where he realized that message I received was not rooted in truth. And this is the hope here. That message I received as a child was a perspective from someone that I looked up to, who should have been protecting me, who should have been encouraging me, who should have been sort of my rock to build me up into the person I should have become. But now that I know this, and here's where the divine exchange happens, when I get to this place where I've detoxed that mental mistruth, that falsehood, that I am good enough because my worth is not contingent on the opinions of other people. My worth is inherited. It's inherent from the spirit realm. And God says, I'm worth more than anything, any riches in this world. My worth cannot be shaken or changed no matter what. No matter what they said, no matter what she said, no matter what he said, no matter what they said. My worth is given to me and it's never going to go away. So I start to understand when I get to this stage that I can renew my thinking to truth and stop replaying those old messages that I received growing up. Or let's say you had an older sibling who picked on you. I'm actually the oldest in my family, but a lot of you aren't. You're the young one or you're the middle child, and of course I have children, so I have seen this myself, how they get picked on. But yeah, let's say that you were kind of bullied as a kid from your siblings or even from friends or whatever that were older than you. And you kind of, something embarrassing happened to you and you haven't recovered from that. And so now you have these insecurities and these self-confidence and self-worth issues. But getting back to those roots, that's why this is very important to know for yourself. When I get back to those roots of what happened to me, I call them the roots of brokenness, and I begin to uproot them from my soul realm and realize, this is where this comes from. This is why I struggle with this. Then I can begin to do the divine exchange in this stage. To renew my mind from the old thought forms to the new mindset. And my new mindset is going to be rooted in spiritual truth of who I am, of my true identity. Because identity is first spiritual. This is so important to remember. Before you identify anywhere else in life, I must first identify spiritually. Because if you don't know that identity, everything else is subject to change. Okay, so that's the renewal. And then we go into the next stage of this stage, and that's restoration. By the way, if you guys have any questions, and I'll come back to the chat and see if you posted anything, but don't hesitate to ask, even if you're watching this later. So what is restoration? Restoration, again, is full circle. It's coming back to my original posture. And well, I wrote it as this. I wrote it as, it's the space, restoration is the space where I have acquired a mindset, a new mindset, and process thoughts from there, even in the face of the temptation to go back to old faulty thinking. I won't. When you get to the restoration stage, this is, you're very confident now, because you've spent time in the spirit. You have been feeding your spirit. You know truth about who you are. So going back to our example of being at work and having a critical boss or you know, coworkers that talk about you, or I'm trying to think of other examples as an adult, but of course work is relatable to all of us. So you're now in a space where mentally you're not as easily persuaded to go and cower back into that old mindset that, oh, I'm not good enough, I messed up at work today, or, you know, my boss said this, or my coworker said that. Now you come back from that with a posture of confidence, because you're like, okay, well, you know, I got that wrong, you know, I'll fix it, I'll take care of it. But it doesn't affect you to the point where you begin to feel so bad about yourself. You feel like a failure because you did something wrong at work. And then, of course, we can get really deep into this, because a lot of us have been through verbal abuse, mental and verbal abuse, which is mental and emotional abuse, where we heard these messages for lengths of time, and it began to kind of erode our sense of identity because it came from somebody that we were close to. So a lot of this, yes, it's going to take time to heal and recover from, but it is within arm's reach if you would just take the time to go through these stages and remember the truth of yourself and who you are, and that your worth is, it's inherent, it is spiritual, and no one can take it from you. No one. And no one can take your identity, really. At the root of it, no one can steal your identity. Even if they copy you. Even if they try and steal your ideas or your creativity, you have a signature print and blueprint and essence and energy and existence. So keep that in mind. Any questions? But this is my prayer for you as we are wrapping up the first month of this year. Wherever you are in your inner healing journey, I pray that you take this with you this year and remember that restoration is yours. And again, I'm here if you're interested in my one-to-one sessions. Reach out, shesrestored@gmail.com. And we can set something up for you guys. I'm still trying to think of a Portuguese word. If you're still here, Kawana. A Portuguese word. I can't think of one. I think I'm gonna have to pass. That $1,000, darn. How about ciao? Is ciao a Portuguese word? It's a Spanish word and it's an Italian word. Why not? Why not a Portuguese word as well? Does that count? Let me know if you see this again. Anyways, you guys, I'll be back tomorrow for soul strengthening sessions. I'm actually excited about wrapping up that one as well, because we are talking about maintaining your peace. And let me just peek real quick and see where we are. Maintaining your peace. That was the first one. Yes, I think I'm on the third one as well for that series. So we're gonna wrap that one up too. That's exciting. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I wouldn't miss it. I'll be back tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, with soul strengthening sessions, maintaining your peace, It's going to be a good one. It might be a little long, actually. I try to keep my teachings about half an hour, but we might go a whole hour tomorrow night. So bring paper, bring something to write with, because you're going to want to take notes, because I'm going to talk about a lot, actually. But it's going to wrap up nice and neat, and it's going to equip you for the rest of this year. Because again, y'all, peace, we need peace to handle these crazy times and to handle our own stuff. So yeah. Anyways, I hope this blessed you. I will be back tomorrow night. If you need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. My one-to-one sessions, again, $57 a session till the end of January, and then they are going up for the rest of this year. I'm kind of nervous, y'all. I'm serious. Like, I mean, yes, I have had clients pay a nice, good dollar for my sessions out of their own volition, out of their own estimation that they felt like my services were worth that much. But as a whole, I've never charged as much as I'm going to charge. But this is where God has me, and I go where He leads. But yeah, $57 till the end of January 31st to get that discounted rate, and you will keep that rate all year long. I will provide, as I always have, a She's Restored or Soñada Libre Sound discount on all of my prices. So just FYI, even when I go to the higher rates, I will give you a discount for being a part of the She's Restored family if you're subscribed here on YouTube or Soñada Libre Sound, my other channel, or you're a part of the family on Instagram. So keep that in mind. But that's all. I will see y'all tomorrow. Have a great night. Love y'all. Bye.